Hey there. In this video, I'm going to fully explore the practice of keeping a magical diary or book of shadows. Starting by explaining all the benefits of this discipline and going on to explain exactly how you should apply this practice to bring around the best possible results in your path. I have kept a practice diary, recording my hermetic exercises and their results each and every day since my mid-teens. A spiritual journal such as this is a great blessing in your life and brings with it truth and dedication. Truth, because by writing things down, you create better records than you could ever remember yourself, with far more detail and far better specific information. Likewise, what you write is unchanging. It's an account that can't be misremembered or reinterpreted over time, but leaves a permanent record of what you experienced from your point of view on that very day. A diary reveals patterns involving days and their influences, seasons, weather, astrological events, or the environment that you are in. It allows you to really see what affects you and what you're trying to do. By recording exactly what exercises that you undertake, what the goals of those exercises are, and what the eventual outcomes that occur, you will be able to clearly establish cause and effect, to discover exactly what works, and to have a very good understanding of your own capabilities. This allows you to pressure test your own beliefs and the techniques which you learn. Thus, you can amplify the strategies or approaches which are effective for you and let go of ineffective methods or ways of doing things. With a record like this, you'll be able to link things you'd never see otherwise. Dreams that reoccur over the years with small variations or slight continuations. Names and places that occur in meditations, visions, dreams, or conversations. The diary allows you to really fine-tune your practice and to dedicate yourself to your higher calling in life. By having a yearly goal or set of goals with clear criteria in terms of your capability or the changes you wish to make to your character or the kinds of practices you want to undertake, you can keep focused. Many people take vows, make resolutions, or dedicate themselves to something, and the goal simply drifts away. Or they find it easier to reinterpret the goal to make it something easier, something more within their grasp. So rather than them developing to reach the standards they emulate, they will lower the goal to reach their limitations. By having clearly stated, written down goals in a book that you're looking at every day, you can keep on track. and you can make sure you are doing what you really want to be doing with your life, rather than being moved by whim, by external circumstances, or by your own shortcomings. Likewise, by setting goals in this way, you will think very carefully about anything you do, and thus you will be thoughtful and skillful in the way you live your life. Your diary will be a record of all your successes, and this not only helps you clearly establish when you have achieved something so you can celebrate properly and move on to the next stage in your development, but it also builds your confidence. And it's extremely motivational to be able to see how many times you've reached your goal in a particular exercise, or what effects one of your rituals or meditations brought about. So now we know why we should keep a practice diary. In order to show you how to keep one, I've drawn up an example diary, which would be the kind of diary kept by someone who's in the early stages of the Franz Baden system of hermetic attainment. The principles and practices, however, which I'm about to describe are universal, so please apply them to whatever method you are using in your life. The type of diary you should choose is the day per page type, preferably a large one. This is the only form of diary which has a layout which allows you enough space to be able to record all your exercises, your experiences, and your results in enough detail. Be careful to make sure you don't buy what they call an appointment diary, which actually has the times listed down the side here, as they just get in the way. Now, looking at this, you could understand why someone might say, I'll just get a notepad, a lined notepad. But having an actual diary comes with some great advantages. You don't have to keep writing the date in every time you make an entry. You have the stages of the moon recorded on the appropriate dates. And likewise, some diaries will have important astrological occurrences clearly depicted for you to take into account. You also benefit from some organisational tools, such as you can see here how they have a quick calendar at the bottom of each and every double page spread. And I'll go into how we can utilise these to our benefit later on in the video. So you are going to be using this practice diary each and every day, probably twice a day. So I recommend that you cover it. You put something beautiful on the front cover, something symbolic of your goals, that's inspiring and uplifting, so that every time you use it, you feel motivated. Likewise, having something specifically relevant to you and your path here, this will make sure that you keep the diary special to you and that you connect it with your achievements and progress. Now, I talked about achievements and progress there. The very first thing you should fill in your diary would be your goals. If you're undertaking a systematic course in self-development, or you're following a teacher's instruction, then your goals probably would be quite clear to you. However, if you're a lone practitioner or finding your way through a path that's not quite as clear and distinct, you may wish to make sure that you really contemplate what you put as a goal in your diary. Now, you may note that the writing here is in pencil, and I do recommend that you use a pencil to fill in your diary. It's a lot easier to correct, but also you'll probably want to draw things and make diagrams which help your record of your experiences or progress. This, however, is an exception. This is the one section of the diary which you could put in pen, because your goals are vows. They are commitments which should not be reversed. Think of them as a specific expression of your higher purpose, your divine will manifested here. So once you write these goals in your diary, they are going to occur. If they don't naturally happen within the year, they will move on to the next year and the next until your will is made manifest. So be sure only to record and dedicate yourself to the goals that you truly want to happen. The type of goal you should choose is as follows. First and foremost, you should prioritize capability style goals. This is because capability is a clear sign of your progress, what you are capable of, what abilities and powers you possess. These are recordable and are far more objective than the opinions of others or how you feel about things. So use this as a light of truth upon your practice. First and foremost, focus on what you can do. Secondly, you may want to have some goals which are about your training, how often you train and how you train, the duration and the frequency of this training. And finally, make sure that you also include character development goals, virtues which you wish to cultivate, improvements to how you function and interact with the world. So let's look at the goals that this example student has put into their diary. So we can see the first goal is to master the vacancy of the mind. This is to say that the student will learn to clear their mind of all thoughts for 10 minutes. This, as you can see, is a capability goal and one that's very easy to measure. The student will use a timer so they know they're sitting for exactly 10 minutes, and with a string of beads will record every time they have a thought. After the practice is over, they will record their thoughts and how many there were, and if they note a specific pattern in what thoughts do occur, they will look at these thoughts and the nature of them for clues as to how they could improve how they sit, how they generate the correct state of mind, what changes to their character or their lifestyle are needed, and what subtle adjustments that they can make in general so as to continue to progress. This student will know when they have achieved this goal because they will be able to repeatedly and frequently achieve 10 minutes of a pure, clear state of mind which is not disturbed by any form of thought at all. The next goal is the training type of goal. This is to make all practices firm. You can tell that this student is looking to make sure that their hermetic practice is a lifelong dedication. And they have put a criteria here, a method as to how they wish to make these practices a firm part of their daily life. They're going to practice every day without fail for the whole year. This, of course, will also be very easy to record, and they'll be able to see their success laid out before them within this very book. And the third goal is to develop inner tranquility. So that's the character development type of goal I mentioned earlier. The student is looking to see that a tranquil state of mind becomes a permanent quality in their personality, something they can observe and experience for many months on end, that others note and is clear in the way they interact with the world. There are many ways to monitor the success of these three goals, and of course the student may achieve all of them within the year. If they do so and they have some time left, they can start to work on next year's goals or some additional goals which they can add here. Now, most diaries have this year planner at the front, which is a wonderful tool for the practitioner because it allows you to record your results in a chart that you can see, and this can be very motivational, and it can also show you patterns. So here the student is using it to record the vacancy of mind. You can see VOM here, and the number in brackets is the number of disturbances they've had in the meditations. They're looking to lower this, and this is probably their best achievement in that day. They could have used this for any of the other goals. They could have just ticked it when they've managed to practice every day for their practice every day goal, or they could have recorded how calm or how tranquil they have been during that day. Looking at this chart, the student will be able to see themselves progress, and it will be wonderful to see the first few occurrences of a completely clear state of mind. Perhaps you could mark these in a different colour. But they could also see if certain days they perform better. Maybe they see that they perform better on weekends, and this means that they know that it's a calmness thing, or not having any pressure to do anything else helps them in their meditation, so they can start adjusting their state of mind to achieve more of that all the time. Whatever factors that occur, we amplify the good effects through that information and eliminate any hardships that get in the way of what we're trying to do. So let's look at a sample entry. How the exercises would be recorded on a daily basis. Here we have January the 1st, and the student has filled in all their exercises and the factors affecting them and the results. And we can immediately see two symbols have been drawn here, a moon and a sign of the zodiac. So the moon isn't representing the phase of the moon here. You can see actually the very next day is a full moon. This is just the student reminding themselves of the ruling planet of the day, so that they can just remember what blessings the planet is bringing into their life on any day of the week. So it's just good to make that note in the mind's eye. Likewise, we can see that the current astrological sign is Capricorn. So these are two of the influences upon the day which are important to note. We now have the weather. We could view this perhaps as the elemental influences upon the day. And we can see it's a cold, clear January day. So the student starts practicing at 7 a.m. That's a wonderful time to do your morning practice. And we have the location here, which is home. I myself would be a bit more specific than this. I'd put what room I was in, whether I was in my practice room or whether for some reason I wasn't there. Because in years to come, when you look back, you don't want to have any guesswork.
let's see what the student actually did. They did their body brushing, then they did gymnastics, so this would be yoga style exercises, and then their magical washing. So this would be using their water to wash away any negative influences upon them or any qualities they wish to let go of. I'd imagine that this student would probably be emphasising any qualities which were preventing them from achieving their goals. So perhaps washing away any worries or anxieties to help with the achievement of that inner tranquility. We can see the vacancy of the mind has been practiced, in this case only once, and there have been 11 disturbances here. So they've sat for 10 minutes and had 11 thoughts. Poor breathing. So there's only 7 breaths, but of course the student will be working this up, moving towards a extended sit with a pure focus on their goal, which we can see recorded as tranquility here. And you can actually see that they've made a note saying adding a breath each time. So they're going to add a breath every time they practice. And in the end, often this practice will take up to half an hour, especially if it's a large virtue such as inner tranquility. Factors affecting practice, you can see that they were in a good mood and they were motivated. So this is a very positive state of mind to go into their practice with. Observations and results. The mind was very clear, and the thoughts about social matters during the meditation. So you can see these 11 disturbances were about social matters. So this could be something that the student sees as a pattern, so there's something that needs to be adjusted in their social life, but it could be just that it's January the 1st and there's been many social events recently. We have the evening practice here, so 7 p.m. That creates a nice balance, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The vacancy of the mind. They've had 9 disturbances, so they've had a better session. Contemplation on inner tranquility. That's a wonderful thing for them to be doing. So they're working towards inner tranquility, so they're reaching towards it with their mind's eye, they're contemplating what it actually is, and perhaps learning some lessons about how to get closer to being this quality. Then we have a poor breathing now with 8 breaths for tranquility. Factors affecting practice, as above, so they're still motivated, they're still in a good mood. Observations and results. Well, they've observed that they need to make some life changes in order to achieve their inner tranquility. No more caffeine, less contact with aggressive people, and more time in nature. I think these are 3 very good suggestions for anyone wanting to achieve inner tranquility, and I think they'll work together. And at the bottom, there's a note. These are practices that happen during the whole day. So this is conscious reception of food or meals, and this is for the goal of tranquility. So you can see this is a nice solid beginner's practice. You can see how it will build up in actual practice. Probably the student will start to practice the vacancy of the mind maybe 2 or 3 times, and this poor breathing will increase by a breath every session until this quality of inner tranquility is fully part of the student's personality. Now, most entries will be like this, but sometimes you'll need space for more. Sometimes there'll be things that occur to you, you'll have experiences you want to record, whether they be dreams or things you sense or realizations. For this reason, it's important to learn to abbreviate things. So we're going to another entry here. This is the 3rd of January. We can see it's a Wednesday, ruled by Mercury, Capricorn still in charge. The weather, well, it's actually snowing. That's lovely. And 7 a.m. in the morning, location home outside. So you can see this student has a lot in common with myself. Maybe it's even one of my students. They're choosing to be outside, even though it's snowing. Perhaps they've got a nice warm place which is sheltered to sit. So we've abbreviated the exercise now. Body brushing, gym, magical washing, letting go of worry. So you can see I was correct, they're letting go of the qualities which are adverse to their goal of tranquility. Vacancy of mind, they've got 9 disturbances and they sat for 10 minutes, so you can see this disturbance is still going down. Poor breathing, 9 breaths, inner tranquility, so they're still increasing those, that's wonderful. Other factors, cold during practice. Results, very good focus throughout, and they've got a note that says that the poor breathing was very effective. Now this could be because they're outside, there's a lot more vital force there. I could believe this would be a very positive thing to do. Or maybe they're being kept very alert by being slightly cold. This is something which I wouldn't recommend in the long term because it tends to wear you down, but this could be a factor there. So they can look at how these things are affecting them. The evening, 7 p.m, they're at home, they're outside again. Good on them. And here's the vacancy of mind, 15 disturbances there in 10 minutes. So that's not their best performance. They've got their poor breathing for 10 minutes, which is for tranquility. Contemplation, 10 minutes, so they're still doing this contemplation evening. That's a very positive thing. And we look at other factors. They're very tired. They're very tired, so you can understand perhaps why their performance isn't at its best. And yes, they even note performance poor, and it's hard to focus. And they've got a note. Note conscious perception of food is very powerful. I could really sense it working. So we can actually see that everything involving vital force is working very well for them on this day. And yes, we have a note at the bottom, conscious perception of food, all meals. And this is for tranquility. So as you continue, you'll learn to further abbreviate these exercises, maybe put them in a very quick list. This gives you a lot more space to record anything you experience or any in-depth observations. You must also, of course, not be resistant to making an in-depth record of something very important. And for this, you may want to insert another piece of paper, actually staple it in or glue it in. So this could be a dream or an experience you have, or just an adjustment to what you're going to do. If it's something that takes many pages, you can actually put this in an envelope and then staple the envelope in. And believe me, this is worth doing because in years to come, you may well want to have an in-depth record of an experience. Often, you'll see people in their life learning the same lesson again and again because it hasn't maintained. And often very important experiences in their life, they aren't given the attention they should have, and without a permanent record, doubts set in. So make sure that you really lock in any achievements, lock in any lessons so that you carry on using them, so that it doesn't take making the same mistake or discovering the same thing repeatedly in order for this to become a functional part of your personality. Now, having seen the method of recording all your practices, you can clearly see all the benefits of the practice diary. You have your unwavering goals that keep you resolute and consistent. Your practices in which you become as regular as the sun rising and setting or the stars in their motion. By writing them down each and every day, this establishes a rhythm of practice. By clearly recording your successes, you gain great momentum and motivation. Likewise, you can see how you can systematically, like an alchemist in their laboratory, discover cause and effect, so you can see truthfully what works and what doesn't. But there are other blessings hidden in this practice. In a sense, everything you write has a strong vibration. The realization comes from you. It's written by you and then read by you. In this sense, it's almost like a message to your deep mind, to your higher self. Every time you note what you are going to do to improve, or a specific adjustment to your state of mind, or realization, or contact with a specific force, it's amplified through this record keeping. It comes from you and returns to you stronger. It's almost like the whole diary is a letter to the higher self, showing how you would like to manifest your potential. Imagine that each one of these days feeds back to the goals at the beginning, empowering them with each improvement, with each evolution in insight, with each skillful adjustment, and eliminating anything which needs to be let go of or transformed in order to progress. For this reason, the practice diary is more than the sum of its parts. And the more fastidious you are in the keeping of these records, the greater the benefits to you, your life, and your practice will be.